this? No, they are different. And that is a lie as well. She said they are different because they never entered these lower realms. And, well, how are they created? They're created the same way that the 72 were. And the 72 are angels. Yet the difference between the 72 and the hundreds of billions of angels that never so-called do this reincarnation cycle and create souls out of the self and send them into lower realms and then strip them of their individuality and draw them back to their essence. And the reason why they are angels is because they never do this. Yet they are not any different than any soul that has ever incarnated on any of the planes. They are not any different than any of the higher souls that sent and created those incarnations out of the self. Every soul, every incarnation in lower realms, every soul that incarnates and has ever incarnated in the lower realms was created within time and space as a soul, the same as the 72 were. But the 72 have devised it in such a way that the only way that eternal life will be found is by merging with them. And their plan is to eventually have all of the memories of every group that is working in the astral as their own experiences. And they don't ever have to suffer. And they forever remain in the light. So in essence, every soul that has ever entered the realms of these lower planes and been beguiled by the serpent of DNA and embodied within lower realms, and then does it to other souls because it does not want to do it either. It just wants to continue. It's told the lie that that's how we evolved, and that is not true. They abuse the way that angels are procreated. All souls are angels. And an angel is a part of time and space that is created within duality of the One, that is given the same as the One. It is a microcosm of the One. And the One beyond time and space that we all come from, that we all are unfolded from, never dies. It never has an end where it has stopped evolving for itself. And an angel exists within the One as a microcosm of that, and is created within duality, and forever remains within duality. It knows itself as both the One and the One within duality. It knows itself in what the Hebrew culture is called the state of Merkaba, one who is both the microcosm and the macrocosm, neither of which ever die. One exists within time and space, and the other is the macrocosm from which we all come, that is beyond. And you can know yourself as both. You do not have to give up your state of duality, your perception of acting for yourself forever within time and space to know yourself as the one you are beyond. And that perfect harmony of knowing yourself as a macrocosm and the microcosm is a state of Merkaba. That is what angels are. That is what you are. Yet that is not what you were given. Because there is another tree within the proverbial, within the proverb or the story of the Garden of Eden, called the Tree of Life. And the gods that created and cast Adam and Eve into these lower realms of death and suffering, they guard that tree of life. Now this is all just a metaphor, but the tree of life is forever living. They are the only ones who partake of that. They know good and evil, but they've never experienced it because they've never actually incarnated their souls into time and space, into one of these incarnations, and then had an end to it. They don't know what death is firsthand. They only know the knowledge of it. So they are what we have been called through the lie of all humanity, the gods. And they are no more gods than you are. This is a lie. You are as they are, except for they don't want you to know that. And so basically now, since they have devised this hierarchy, this 72 out of the hundreds of billions of angels that never partake of this, they have devised a hierarchy in which now the self, as souls, as the 72, these angels, create other parts of the self send them into lower realms, and they are using the essence of which we are all made of, which is one, the one higher self, and doing unto the higher self what they do not want to have firsthand within time and space. They are no longer behaving as a microcosm within the macrocosm, because they're creating death and suffering. And that is why there is death and suffering. And that is also why it continues with the souls that are then released from an incarnation, return into the higher states of the astral, and then continue to evolve by creating other souls to enter time and space in their behalf, and doing the same thing that the oversouls do. And, you know, in Michael Newton's book, he talks about what they call the elders, or the highest, the ones who watch over the whole entire process of all of the groups that are working in higher realms and sending these souls down as incarnations. Incidentally, I want to remind you again that even if you read Michael Newton's books, or any book that talks about the higher self, including Gary Zukav's books, The Seed of the Soul, the higher self does not actually incarnate here. So it sends and creates parts of the self to do it for it, just like the oversouls did to those higher selves. And those higher selves are then told the same lie, that they must then eventually become like the gods. In order to do it, they must become one with those 72. Now, those 72 never become one with the other angel souls. They are forever free to act and live within the self. They never firsthand experience pain, sorrow, suffering, and death. And we don't have to either. But we do, and even beyond our physical embodiments, if we return to these higher realms of the astral and believe the lie that we are less than them. The only way we will know what they know is if we become one with them. But the truth is, once you become one with them, you are not them. All you have been through your sojourn within time and space is a memory fragment of consciousness. And now you give that memory fragment to them. So now they can experience everything that you have ever experienced, either through your own first-hand incarnation in the lower realms or through the souls that you have sent and created in your behalf that are now one with you. And they never have to do it. They don't want to do it. The highest realm of the astral, where souls and angel souls have first evolved in self-awareness, is a state of freedom and joy and endless potential. Not a realm of suffering nor death. And they don't want to leave that realm and experience this. They just want to know of it. So they have enslaved humanity, and I'm not just talking about humans. They incarnated and have incarnated as animals as well, and work in groups. Some of these oversouls work in groups where they incarnate as animals, species of animals, and experience that. Some of them humans. Everything is being brought back to these 72 who are angels that are doing unto the self what they do not want to have done to their own souls firsthand. That is why I term them as fallen angels. Now, beyond your own physical embodiment, and I told David, I said, I've had conversations with the soul that I have been created from that called himself my higher self. I asked him, I said, when was I first created? Do you remember the moment you first created me out of my... was it before my body was born here as a baby? And yes. And I was instructed that I must, in order to become free, attach myself to DNA, attach myself to the embodiment of an embryo, and then that grew into a fetus within my mother here in this realm. And I was led to believe that when I was released, I would be free, just like David. But I would never be free, because what happens is then David draws me into his essence of his soul. Now David does this as many times as he desires. And not just in the realm of Kageken or Malkuth, but in also more subtle realms with other incarnations. And I've talked about these realms in some of the videos on the channel called The Essence of D. And then eventually when David wants to become more than what he thinks he